sharing of the screen. So as is the custom, we have an agenda. Oh, that's a custom too. And is that actually sharing or not?
You are not sharing anything.
Yeah, now, okay. Okay, still new to Zoom, sorry. So yeah, here we go. And as is the custom with the Siebel Friday, we have a little bit of an agenda. And of course, the first item on this agenda is the latest Siebel update, which is 24.8. So there's quite some exciting news about 24.8 that we will see in a moment. We also talk about Siebel deployment like it's 2024. So brace yourself for some cloud action or container action. And there's also test automation is something I recently had to dive into and found a lot of interesting things and wanted to share a little bit about that. And we have a lot of upcoming events. So not just Cloud World, there's even more. And as usual, if you have anything to add ad hoc, then you're most welcome. So let's start with the update highlights for 24.8, which means we have a new, just getting my bearings here, sorry. We have not one, but two new wizards in Web Tools, Form and List Applet. There is some new auto sync for the disconnected mobile applications, some enhanced logging for CTMS for the clinical one integration, and great news from Siebel Cloud Manager as it now supports non-OKE Kubernetes cluster types, which we'll see what that means. There is another update on the feature adopt DDDW. So, sorry for that. Deleting delivered developer workspaces. And the Tomcat delivered with 24.8 is the same version as in 24.7. So that is 9.088. So yeah, anybody still using Siebel tools will find it hard to justify because Siebel Web Tools now comes with 11 wizards. So that means the new applet wizard that is here in the select object is actually two wizards. So you can choose to create a form or a list applet. And well, I gave it a spin and it does what it says. It's the same experience literally as in Siebel Tools, of course, in the OpenUI task-based style that WebTools has. It does not jump into the editor, so that's different, but easy enough to open the editor after that. And
yeah, Alex, with
yeah.
the next wizards we deliver, we hope to make that a thing of the past. So the wizards should go to the object you've created.
So right into the editor, like Siebel Tools?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's. Honestly, I was a little bit expecting that, but it's okay. So good to see two more wizards, and as you say, Kerry, thanks for sharing this. There will be probably the other applet wizards will join soon.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good to hear. So WebTools gets becomes more and more complete by the month.
It's still very sensitive on trying to pick a checkbox and move it or do anything with it without deleting it by mistake.
Oh yeah, a little trick of my little old short site itself is a zoom in to level 300 or so. Then you can grab it. Yeah, but tiny things are hard to grab. Yeah, there's still, let's say there's still some work to do for the form applet editor. Let's not go there. Let's let's discuss disconnected mobile applications. So anybody in the room using Siebel mobile applications or even disconnected? Would be interesting to hear.
Not I.
Okay, so that's, let's call it a little bit of a niche for Siebel had so many good years in remote operations, working with Siebel remotely in Siebel 2000. That was my, sorry for the flashback, that was my first version where I hooked up the laptop to the hotel landline, dialed up with the modem and synchronized my Siebel database as a Siebel employee back then. And those days are long gone for most customers. Siebel Remote is still a thing. The disconnected mobile applications, they do not have a real relational database on your phone, but the data needs to be synchronized when you go offline. And as it was before 24.8, that synchronization before you go offline had to be done right before you go offline. And that was a little bit counterintuitive to most users I worked with, as they are expecting to go offline and everything is there, right? And I think that's the reason why Oracle added the auto sync feature to disconnected mobile applications. So it syncs in the background, and when you happen to go offline, everything is already there, so no hassle. And that's a good thing to hear. So mobile applications are a thing, and customers or using the disconnected mode, of course, will be very happy. And anybody working with developer workspaces, so that includes everybody in the room, I guess, and having those developer workspaces in a delivered state and wanting to get rid of them, we have shared the good news in 24.7. There is the new switch for SiebDev CLI, and also the ability to just right-click it in Siebel Tools or go to Web Tools, press a button, so you can now delete delivered developer workspaces from any parent. That includes main. And there was the ability to delete integration workspaces already, and of course, any developer workspace underneath that would go with that. But the main workspace was of, let's say, the main troublemaker, as hot fixes, etc., piled up. Or some projects don't even use integration workspaces. Are you one of those? And the main workspace, well, is the only workspace to work with. They have thousands of developer workspaces and have no idea how to get rid of them, except for, of course, the flattened workspace, which is the controversial thing, and you should actually not use it for cleanup. And there's a new documentation in 24.8 bookshelf, so check out the Using Siebel Tools guide, as it has one more bit of information. Actually, you can pass the version number to the after the workspace name, so the integration or main workspace name here, to delete. I honestly don't really have, I haven't really tried it, but that's the new piece of information here. And speaking of workspaces, yeah, Kerry, you're here, and thank you so much for this blog post, Kerry, that you have published in the Siebel CRM blog from Oracle, blogsoracle.com. Everybody go there, watch the video, read the blog post. It's a great, great article and a webinar that was recorded by Kerry, yeah, detailing out everything that Oracle has to say about how to use workspaces, and especially integration workspaces. Main should represent production at all time. All you do is hot fixes, and then the new feature clicks right into place that you can delete the developer workspaces now under main. So that's a really great article. Yeah. Okay. Anything to add here on top of the workspaces?
If you don't mind, Alex, there's something I did want to point out about 24.8 that's not a feature per se, but are some major improvements that I would just wanted to draw attention to. They're all, and these are all around database upgrade and migration and so forth, upgrade factory. And many of these may not apply to this audience because most of you are probably already post IP17, but I still wanted to pass them along because there's a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
One is that we removed the rep crawler process from being part of the upgrade process.
Oh yeah.
And
is it okay if I keep tabs on that here on the list?
Yeah, of course, of course.
So,
I mean, this is all actually in the
it's in the release,
of course, the update guide. But anyway, I just wanted to draw attention because they can get kind of buried in there, I think. Anyway, we removed it because customers and partners had complained that it was giving false positives and inactivating things that were actually being used, perhaps via integration. And so there was no other reference to it in the repository, so we inactivated it. But it was still being used by some integration point that we just didn't know about. So now rep crawler is still available and it can still be run, and you can run it and generate basically a report of what it's going to do, so that you can tell for sure if you've got stuff in there that it's going to inactivate.
So you can run it manually.
Right. You can still run it. It's just been removed as being a strict part of it. So for any of you who haven't upgraded or partners who help others to upgrade, and hopefully good. The other one that's really huge, anyone who's crossed actually the IP 2016 boundary and has a lot of activities has probably noticed that the vast majority of your production upgrade time is spent on migrating all of those activities to a new schema to accommodate the major overhaul of the calendar that we did at that point. And we literally customers with a terabyte of activities, and it would run for 2 days. We highly streamlined that SQL, highly. It now runs in a little bit, in our testing, of course, but at a little bit of less than 10% of the time it took previously. So if you were looking at 10 hours, you're now looking at less than 1 for the exact same result. So we did some major tuning to that SQL.
Okay.
And then we also did a couple of minor items where I'm sure everyone's probably experienced that you get halfway through your development upgrade, and then because you've got a project lock, for example, it fails and you got to start over. And so for some of these things where, we could put a simple check at the beginning to look for certain known error conditions, and just tell you up front. So it doesn't tell you in the middle. It goes, hey, you got to go unlock this project before you start, or before it gets very far in and before it's done anything to your actual database. So we made a number of improvements in that area.
So
and then,
that is like preliminary checks run as part of the upgrade?
Right. It's because each of these little steps in the upgrade, each one potentially has its own preliminary checks, but you don't get to them until you get to that step. So the idea is we move them up front so that we can check them in advance and not get halfway through the upgrade. So,
okay.
We also fixed an issue. This will apply for migration as well as database upgrades. But if you had a customer defined index, for example, your DBA put some index in place, even perhaps at our recommendation directly at the database level to address some performance concern. And then we came along and formalized that index within our repository. When it tried to push that out, the database engine itself would kick out an error saying you can't have 2 indexes with the same columns on the same table. So we fixed that so that we look for that situation. And if we find a customer index there, we basically just replace it with ours so that it's just properly mapped in the repository. And then we also fixed a problem with migration where function-based indexes were being unnecessarily rebuilt. And also similarly, there was an issue during full migration with function-based indexes that we fixed.
Okay.
And then we also address some issues with Upgrade Factory, whereby it would not re-trigger if it failed at certain points. You couldn't fix the problem and then say, and then do a put or whatever it is to tell it to continue. It just wouldn't continue, and so you had to start. So we addressed that.
Restart.
Yeah, it's restart from wherever you were, right? That wasn't working right now. It is both on premise and in Upgrade Factory. So
okay.
a whole bunch of database sort of upgrade and migration related things that hopefully people will find helpful and make things a little bit easier. Particularly any of you, like I said, who do kind of a lot of upgrades for maybe different customers.
Yeah.
You, Alex, for example, probably help out with a lot of things. So hopefully we'll find them useful in your work.
Yes. I'm looking forward to actually testing this during the next upgrade that I have the privilege of attending. Yeah. So it's very good to hear that this also gets a lot of attention.
Yep. And then also, if I may have 1 or 2 more minutes.
Sure.
During 24/7's meeting last month, we talked briefly, I believe, about the replacement of CK editor with the tiny MCE editor.
Yeah, we mentioned that.
Am I correctly remembering that? Okay.
Yeah.
We've now, our intention there was for it to be completely transparent. So, it may be a little bit different look and feel, of course, but it shouldn't really matter to the end user what editor, what their bold button looks like or whatever. It should be largely transparent. But we've recently now, as people have started to move to that version, had some people come back and say, well, we had customized CK editor, which I thought was kind of strange, but okay. And so I just wondered, now that a month has gone by, if anyone's on this call has any feedback or experience with that, that have now started to move at least their development environment to 24/7 or 24/8, and noticed any issues with using that updated third-party control. And if not, that's fine. But I was just hoping that if anyone had had a chance to look at it and seen any issues with it, if they wouldn't mind sharing those, that'd be great. And that doesn't necessarily need to happen this instant. You could send us an email or whatever. But just interested in getting feedback on whether or not it caused any problems for anybody to switch that.
Okay. Yeah. So people, just to summarize, people customize CK editor, and now of course those customizations have to be carried over manually to tiny MCE.
You have to re-implement them.
Yeah.
They have to be re-implemented.
Oh, okay.
So, or just issues with it in general, even if there weren't customizations involved. It's we put it out there in the field, and we don't know what people think of it, right? So just any feedback on any of this stuff is always helpful. Once people start to adopt it. But this one in particular, we were kind of surprised at having several customers come back so quickly and go, "Hey, why'd you do that?" And we're like, "Oh, we didn't even think people would notice." I mean, but anyway. So if anyone.
Okay. Yeah. So thanks very much, Kerry. That's much
Brian.
Appreciated. Oh, sorry.
This was Brian, not Kerry.
So sorry, Brian.
Wrong one.
Sorry.
Kerry's here too. But anyway, that's all I had. I just wanted to point out, like I said, those new upgrade database related feature improvements. Not really features, but we kind of looked at them as performance bugs, which is why they're not listed as a feature, right? Like most of that's around performance and around making them really addressing functional concerns rather than it being a feature. That's why it's not called out as such in the monthly update guide.
Yeah. So of course, everybody earnestly trying to update or upgrade Siebel. The release notes is mandatory documentation. Should be.
I hope so. If you're not reading that, you're looking for trouble, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much, Brian. That's much appreciated.
Thanks for letting me interrupt you.
Yeah, always. Okay, so not enough of features for 24.8, by the way, as in Siebel Cloud Manager, which is another very new product, really, but I think gets some traction with customers now moving to OCI, of course, and I think, I'm not sure, not sure if anybody's in the room who can maybe explain. In the documentation now, it says that you can bring your own OKE. Well, that's not really new. You could do that before. So you have your own Oracle Kubernetes cluster on OCI, and you point to that during the deployment, and it's using that cluster and not setting up a brand new one. But the new stuff in 24.8 in the documentation is that you can bring your own OCNE, that's Oracle Cloud Native Environment, which I think would run on OCI, and then you can bring your own other Kubernetes variant as long as it's Cloud Native Computing Foundation compliant. So that would probably qualify OpenShift as well. I say probably because I haven't tried it, or I haven't heard, apart from reading the documentation, that this is a thing. But I talked to a lot of people who were very interested in using Siebel Cloud Manager and not using either OKE for whatever reason, or even not using OCI. So they want to go with Microsoft Azure, for example, because that's their go-to infrastructure. And still SCM could, in theory now, deploy to a Kubernetes cluster, or maybe on Azure. It's just a network connection after all. And that's super interesting, and I'm kind of very excited about it and keen to see where this goes. So is there anybody in the room who could share a little bit about that? Or we need to invite people next time? Okay, so yeah, that's all the topic that I was mentioning before, is like deploy Siebel like it's 2024. And as you're aware, we have a new training course out for a few weeks now, a mini course on the Siebel Hub, where we can learn everything about container deployment. So you can do, you can use containers pre-built from Oracle. You can roll your own containers, and you can use them in a standalone scenario to, well, benefit from that already. And then, of course, you could go to Siebel Cloud Manager and get all the latest super hyped features like Helm charts and GitOps architecture, and of course Kubernetes deployment with Siebel. So that is really the modern day Siebel deployment. But many projects that I see are reluctant to jump on that train and get going, because, well, it's quite a jump really, from the bare bone installation. So you have your 20 Windows Siebel servers, and you have an installation on each and every one of them. And, well, when you update your Windows, you have to reinstall everything. And I wonder why in 2024 people are still doing that. It's a lot of work that can be, yeah, much easier with containers, at least, not even Cloud Manager. So yeah, check out this mini course if you're interested in what's possible in 2024, and of course in the future of Siebel deployment. And speaking of Siebel deployment in the cloud age, not necessarily on cloud, could be on-prem, is that I've put together some questions here that people asked during when I delivered that mini course. Was a private delivery for customers. And so the main questions asked here, you can see here, what's the difference between containers and Cloud Manager? Can we use other Kubernetes vendors? Very big question here. How do we administer Siebel with those Helm charts? Do we have observability? Well, the answer is yes, since 24/6. Can we build and use our own Docker images? Answer is yes. Can we bring our own database and file system? Yes, again. And how difficult is it to update when you have a certain version of Siebel running on containers or SCM? Update to a higher Siebel and SCM version? Answer is it's surprisingly easy to do that, and the update is a breeze. compared to manually updating 20 production Siebel servers one by one. So I put together based on a discussion I had also with John Bedford, I put together a community post on the Siebel Hub YouTube channel. So let me just go there. And yeah, you'll remember the Siebel Hub YouTube channel. You find, of course, the Siebel Friday and a lot of videos here. And the community tab, I have put up these questions, or put up a room where you can put in comments. And there's already one up here. So if you have any questions related to containers or Kubernetes or Cloud Manager, or have any problems or issues with that, then post them here and I will forward it to Oracle. So I will share I'll share the link in the chat as well. Just get that here. Just one moment. Acting up. Okay. So yeah, the link is now in the chat. If you want to go there and ask your questions about Siebel Cloud Manager, containers, anything related to that. Okay, so then any questions from anything to add about containers, Cloud Manager? Any comments? Most welcome.
Yeah, I have a question. This may be for Kerry, but do you know if there's any plans to allow the Siebel file system to run against like OCI object storage or AWS S3 directly instead of having to use the NFS share?
I haven't heard anything
I'll
about
take that.
But, okay.
I'll take it if you'd like. This is Brian. It's in our backlog, and we're absolutely looking at doing that.
Okay.
Because we understand that object storage is a lot less expensive than a file share, and so we are looking into doing that. I don't know where it falls in whatever in the SCM team's backlog, but it definitely is something we're looking at. And then similarly, though, is in a more generic sense, something that I've been talking about with Raj Agarwal, many of you know, for a while now, and is also in our backlog, is to really abstract out the file system manager a bit and allow you to essentially to define an API that matches what file system manager does, but make it a public definition and therefore allow you to swap it out. So if you wanted to use SharePoint, you could, for example, or Oracle Web Center content or Docs, or well, whatever it's called as a product. That's our internal implementation, et cetera. So those are both areas we're looking at in relation to that.
Okay, that's interesting. I think I have some customers that would be interested in that.
Yeah. So
certainly, we're aware that customers want to be able to use object storage. I mean, it's an obvious thing to want. I mean, because it's cheaper.
Yeah. Okay. That's, by the way, that would be a great question to put into that community post. So it's locked in and can be forwarded to Oracle.
Yeah.
So yeah, please consider putting it there. Yeah.
One thing I just wanted to tack on additional comment from what Alec you just said around containers. If you have not looked at that, I just want to echo that you really should. It's when Alex says it's amazingly simple, it's beyond amazingly simple. It literally, I mean, I myself am putting together a presentation right now for a partner group, and I'm using containers to demonstrate rolling updates so you don't have to have any downtime. I can bring down a Siebel server node using Kubernetes and Docker, and in my case, Docker images, but it doesn't have to be Docker, any container platform, and bring up a new one in a matter of seconds. I mean, it's amazing how fast it is.
Yeah.
Like it truly, it's almost hard to understand how fast it is until you've seen it happen, and you're like, wait a minute, did I just finish updating? You're like, yeah, you're done.
It boggles the mind. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really
So
messes with you when you see it.
Yeah, you're like, wait a minute, what? I'm done. So yeah, the only sort of hiccup at all becomes you manually run post-install setup, because that's against your database, of course.
That even sorry, Brian, for getting excited, but the post-install database update is even automated in SCM, right?
Oh yeah,
so
yeah. In SCM,
it runs
but
as
you
a
can use
background
them.
job.
Yeah, sure. No, I mean, I was talking more about the on-premise
standalone containers.
Standalone, or or right, or if you want to run them on containers on Azure or whatever, right? Then it's not running in SCM at this stage. But yeah, just it's really, if you haven't looked at it, go look at Alex's, or the course there, or you can even go back a couple years ago. We did another presentation on rolling updates that leverages containers, and it really is kind of mind-boggling.
Yeah, so
for someone who's been doing this forever, it's just hard to. You're like, it really is hard to understand how easy it is. So you see it.
So yeah, Oracle has done a lot here. Yeah, so if I second Brian's words on this. So if you haven't looked into this, you should really do it. And yeah, okay, thanks, Brian.
Sure.
And now another very mind-boggling feature of Siebel that you should look into is the test automation. And I'm talking about the post IP17, the bit you all know about, with the recording can be done in the Siebel client. There's the playback with DISA. And I was in a project recently where we started using something like test-driven deployment for Siebel, test-driven development. So that means whenever we develop a new feature, we also deliver, as a deliverable, we deliver a test or multiple tests if it's more complex. And those we deliver as test scripts, and we run these test scripts nightly. So we have a nightly lights out test run, which is fully automated, and it generates a report, and you look at it in the morning and say, okay, everything's still fine, 100%, or oops, this batch workflow keeled over and we killed it and we have to look into it. So we're not just testing functionality, we're also testing for success of batch jobs, repeating components, workflows, etc. So, and that told me and taught me a lot about Siebel test automation, much more than I was aware it can do. And we are in the process of putting together another a mini course, but it's not so mini anymore, so I call it a master class. Grand test auto. And that is something I want to show you because I've just put out on the Siebel Hub YouTube channel this morning a sneak preview for our silver and gold members on the Siebel Hub. So if you're a silver or gold member, silver doesn't really cost much to become a silver and gold member or gold member. And then you get access to those sneak previews, and gold members get 10% on the Siebel Hub shop. So when you buy training, consider this. And so now you're seeing this, what the gold members see. So I shouldn't really show it, but there's the video preview, a snippet from the cutting room where we developed that training. And here's the machine I recorded this on. So I still have the machine running. And one concern that I hear from many people about test automation is, well, it's nice, but concern number A, we already have 10 Selenium developers on the job. And those Selenium developers, they have to rewrite the Selenium every time we deploy a new Siebel version or we modify an applet. because they mess up those ID numbers and they don't really know how to use Siebel test automation. So that's concern number one, Selenium. And Selenium is in the project, and we cannot run Selenium as part of Siebel tests. So Siebel tests is no code. So you just record or you manually add steps in a test script like I have here. And a while ago, really, quite a few years ago, Oracle added this keyword. So to the keyword framework, custom extension. And that is something I really had to use a lot in the recent project because of different situations that you can't handle with the normal steps. And this allows you to call a Java class, which runs on DISA and runs, of course, any Java code you want. And the Java code that we want is, for example, using the Selenium classes, or the Selenium objects, if you will. So you're looking right into that Java class that I wrote here for educational purposes. And so you can see that it has different sections which I can call from the test script. And that Java code uses mostly Selenium to do things. And one of the use cases is, for example, we have symbolic URLs in Siebel. So there's a view which has an applet which opens an iframe and shows something else. So without further ado, I would just run the script. And it also does something that is another use case for custom Java, is it handles a third-party authentication. What you will see is a complete mockup. It's not a really third-party SSO login, but it's going through a third-party website to log into Siebel, a single sign-on session. And then it will go to a symbolic URL view and target the content within the iframe. So these are all things that happen when I play this script. So I played with the SSO option because that will not be a regular login to Siebel, and let's just enjoy. It's actually pretty fast. So you have just seen the custom login page. It was actually super fast. And there you see on the top, do you see the blue box injected by the Java code? And it does now regular test step navigation. That's the view with the, now the content within the iframe was modified and the script is over. So it's actually so fast, hard to talk to. But we get a report with all the steps, and yeah, so you see that the Java class code was executed successfully. There is that blue marker that was showing up, and we have the sitemap navigation, and then we have the third call into the Java code to manipulate the iframe content, which is impossible to do through a recording or something like that. So there's even a screenshot here, which, well, proves that there was a query made for queries in the Siebel online help, which I put in this symbolic URL just to have a mock-up. And you also see the blue marker. Yeah, that's something I had the privilege to explore in a recent project, and I'm excited about it. And I think it's really worth looking into it. That custom extension keyword with the ability to run your own custom Java code, which calls Selenium, of course, or can do anything else on the machine, right? Within the boundaries of the Java runtime that you have on that DISA machine. Okay, so yeah, what do you think? Is that something you are exploring, something you are actively using? I would be interested to hear.
I would love to, but no time to do it.
Okay, yeah, there's time. It needs time to build it, but on the other hand, saves a lot of time when you have built it. So it's
yeah, I would agree with Alex. It's some overhead up front, but you have to test anyway, and you can record your tests as you go. And so you know, it's not that you have to go kind of separately develop these tests. You can record your actual testing that you already do. And then yes, there is overhead, but in the long run, it will really help. It'll help you to stay current. And with the ongoing number of CVEs out there, that, you know, it's important to stay current because it makes it easier to apply a monthly upgrade.
Yes. So
Faster.
at this customer, we had recently updated to 24.8. So UAT is on 24.8, and the nightly tests just run after the night after the update, and in the morning we saw everything still 100%. So,
Exactly.
and so that's and there's some slides I wanted to show. So regarding that, automating the test automation, which is something that we happen to do because we want to run the batch test completely headless. So we don't want to go into Siebel and click create test executions, whatever. So that is also a sneak preview that will soon be public on YouTube, but that's not my concern. So that means that is part of the courseware we're developing. So if you want a real CI/CD pipelining, you must have tests, you must have automated tests, and you must automate those tests that to an extent that you can just, you know, literally commit, send something out, deliver it in Siebel terms, and then run the test, and then of course have the pipeline, CD pipeline, which is the migration application essentially, to move it to production. And there's a surprising number of tools around Siebel test automation. Well, all the goodies in Siebel, the REST API and workflow, and you have operating systems, you have shells, you have PowerShell, and you can do parallel execution. I just really cherry pick here some slides. Parallel test execution is something we use. We run 3 test suites in parallel on a single machine. That is, of course, 3 times faster than running sequentially. And there is even a fully documented REST API for test automation, which we use. And of course, it's built on top of the Siebel inbound REST API. There's a business service, the main business service here, the automation REST service that you can call. You can call the data functionality to even dynamically create test script, test sets, master suites, test executions. And we implemented a prototype first, and that prototype evolved into the nightly build that we do, the nightly test that we do. So we have a very simple script. You see, it's a Windows command line. So there's any tool really you can use. We use curl to do the inbound REST calls into Siebel, and we create that execution record. We schedule the execution, and then we call into Jenkins to build the projects, of course, remotely through the Jenkins API. So Jenkins is, of course, required for the batch execution, but we don't touch it. So we just run it remotely. And then there's a feature that's called combined reports. When you do the parallel execution, or we have multiple test executions, it's really nice. You see a screenshot here of that daily report we have every morning. So now we have exceeded 25 test scripts, yay, and we still have 100% pass rate. And those test scripts is not just functional testing, they're also using the Siebel REST API. There's a keyword to call into the Siebel REST API from a test script. We are working on a production heartbeat test that runs against production, with less intrusive than into the test environment. And there will be a daily report, or actually an hourly JSON file be published on the Siebel web server to be picked up by a monitoring system. So the monitoring system doesn't even have to call into Siebel, it just picks up the report. So again, my mind was boggled thoroughly when I started working in this project, and I explored test automation. And yeah, it's really something. Again, it's one of these things that if you haven't really looked into it, you definitely should. All right. Anything you want to share about test automation, your experience? Yeah.
Alex, thanks for sharing all this stuff.
Okay.
I really appreciate it because as you know, my focus these days is really on the upgrades and the updates and so forth. And from my perspective, it's the need, as I've mentioned, for test automation is critical for people to be able to stay current, as you pointed. So I just thank you for raising this as a topic.
Yeah.
And I consider it such an important piece of the update process that I've actually I asked them to move our test automation guru Sunil to be on my team because I wanted to stay that close to it because I think it's so critical in the monthly update process.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for kind of bringing this up.
Yeah. Thank you likewise. So yeah, then there's the upcoming events I mentioned. First of all, a shout out to Juris, and he let me know that there's a GenAI event from Ideaport Riga next week. So do sign up. The link will be in the chat in a moment. Juris, while I post the link, do you want to say a little bit? Say some things about the event?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Alex.
Okay.
Well, basically, during last 6 months, we've been working on some customer projects with GenAI and also building more feature to our open source and free accelerator, Magnet AI. And we just thought that we would like to, share the learnings, what we have, and maybe some insights on what is challenging with GenAI, but at the same time, it's going to be kind of a little preview or more wider discussion to the like a session we're going to have in Las Vegas on September 9th about the challenges of moving these GenAI projects from very nice looking POC you can show to business to actually making it work in the production environment, even like in the limited setup. And again, since this large language models that we use in these projects have like probabilistic nature, meaning that, if you pass the same parameters, results that are coming back tend to differ. And this is not what we used to in regular situations. I don't know how would Alex's test script automation work on GenAI when you run a script, you get like okay results, and you run it again, it's not so
Get
great.
different. Yeah, get different results.
But there are ways to address it basically, and effectively there is like another level of testing that you need to do, and there are all these like evaluations coming in when you give the input, run a lot of calls, see what the outputs, and then like judge them either manually or again using some other LLMs. Yeah, so there are some like practical obstacles, and yeah, we just also kind of try to follow the model that at least for Siebel you should be able to do more with clicks and with the code. But of course, like to integrate with Siebel, there is a code required. So like Oleg did some good job this week to show some cases. Yeah, basically it's about the progress we are making in GenAI and how you can bring it to Siebel. And at the same time, it's going to be kind of a little bit of warm up before this customer advisory board session in Las Vegas.
Okay.
So please come and join. Yeah.
Yes. Go and register, and yeah, there shouldn't be a presentation without mentioning generative AI. Of course, it has become a little bit quiet over the summer, so the hype has steamed out a little bit. But sure, in fall and with the, let's say, with the advent of really useful use cases and really going live, customers going live with solutions, then we will learn a lot more about this. a very exciting area of our industry. So yeah, that's sneak. So thank you, Juris, and sneak preview. I've already snuck in, and here's another upcoming event that Juris mentioned just right now. Oracle Cloud World is really upon us. It's happening 9th of September to 12th. So you probably, some of you in the US are most probably attending. From the Siebel Hub side, Richard will be there. So if you see Richard, he's hard to miss, really. He's a tall guy. So say hello to Richard, and if you have anything to, well, discuss and chat, I will be there virtually. And I personally will be in many of these places in fall, starting 15 October in Milan, where actually I will not be, but in Utrecht on 17th. That's the first of the Applications Unlimited events that I will attend. And happy to welcome you there on behalf of the Siebel Hub team. And it's sure exciting events that we have here in Europe in 6 different cities. So if you happen to be around, make sure to register and come along and say hi. And on behalf of the Siebel Friday organizational, we do not have a Siebel Friday in September. So we, at least not a live Siebel Friday. I'm trying to put something together, recorded. But the next live Siebel Friday will be on October 25, the last Friday in October. So hopefully we have a lot to wrap up then. 2 Siebel releases, Cloud World, the first Application Unlimited events. There will be a lot to talk about. Okay. So yeah, that's it from my side. So that was the agenda that I planned to deliver, and there's still room for any discussions and questions that you might have. Okay. Sounds like everybody's happy. Full of Siebel goodies.
Just add.
Okay, that's how it should be. So yeah, then I'll say thank you very much for joining today. And it was a great Siebel Friday. Thanks very much to Brian and Kerry for sharing all these insights. And see you on any of these events or on the last Friday in October.
Okay, thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Alex.
you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Alex.
Bye.